guys, Danny Matei here back with another episode of Caffeine and Cash Practices, answering all your questions on YouTube to help you get a leg up in the cash practice world. So today, I've got a question that I get all the time, and I've really never answered this question. In all the podcasts that I've done, I've never answered this, and I thought it would be relevant to go over today. And that question is, would I go back to PT school if I had to do it all over again? And for some of you, you can have different varying levels of debt that you come out of school with. But everybody, at least with the way that the current setup is for PT, comes out with about 7 years worth of time debt. Okay, so you have your undergrad, and then you have 3 years of grad school. And from a monetary standpoint, the APTA says the average debt burden, total debt burden that students are coming out of PT school with, and that includes undergrad, is about $150,000. So they have 7 years and about $150,000. Now, I know people that come out, they went to state schools, and they maybe are around like 50 grand total, kind of overall for everything, and maybe they worked their way through school. I know other people that are a couple $100,000. That if that's you, that really hurts, right? If you went to all private schools and you're sitting $300,000 in debt, and you did that in order to be able to get a PT degree, that's a challenging conversation. I can tell you for me, and I'll give you my sort of unique experience, which is a little different, is my program, my doctorate, I got when I was in the Army. So the Army has what's called the U.S. Army Baylor DPT program. And basically the way that it works is you apply, so you have to have your undergrad. So I went to undergrad at a state school. Luckily for me, in Georgia, they had something called the Hope Scholarship, which is as long as I had a 3.0 or and above, then my tuition was paid for, and we got like $200 a year for books, which got me like a book, right? But then I worked my way through school. So I had jobs, at least one job, sometimes two, the entire time that I was in school, except for a short period of time when I was playing baseball. And other than that, I was working, right? So I was trying to actually pay for my school. So academic scholarship, luckily, barely kept it above that 3.0. I had dropped a handful of classes to keep it there. And then I got into the Army so that, for me, it wasn't just about the scholarship for the Army. I wanted to be in the military. I had a strong desire to want to serve in the military. It's something that my entire family has done, and I want to do as well. It just so happens that it lined up with a career field that I wanted to have. So I had a debt that was different than everybody else. So I went through basic training, and then we have our school, which is about 28 months, is accelerated. And I have no tuition. I don't owe anything financially for that. What we owed on the back end was about 4.5-ish, 5 years of service, active duty in the Army outside of school. So a total time of about 7.5 years. So when I look at my track, my school, and if I would do it again, the answer is absolutely. Like, it's exactly what I wanted to do. I got to serve in the U.S. Army in a job that in a role that I really enjoyed. I get to do all kinds of cool shit when it came to working in an infantry environment, working with limb salvage patients, working with amputees, getting soldiers back to physical fitness levels that were deployment levels for them to return to their units, and then even being able to work within more specialized groups and doing more performance-based things. All that stuff I couldn't have done if I didn't go to PT school, right? And it's just something that for me it's such an impactful part of my life, at least. But when I look at the general population, the general PT world, and my colleagues that are civilian trained and are paying, let's call it $150,000 to go to school. When we look at the cost comparison of, let's call it maybe $80,000 is what somebody's gonna make coming out of school, or 75 would make it easier. So basically half what the cost to get the degree is. The exchange, if you're looking at purely a monetary sense, it's probably not worth it. Like, to be honest, if you're gonna drop 150 grand and 7 years of your life to be able to make $75,000 coming out with a doctorate, it really isn't a great exchange monetarily and for your time. But when I look at the intangibles that you learn as a physical therapist, and interestingly, I was having a conversation with Hadi Jananga, who owns Web PT, so a billion-dollar basically software company. And as I was talking to her, she was telling me about how many PTs they've hired within their software company that are taking non-clinical roles, and just how great of a fit they are in really any other large company. I never really thought of it that way. And she said there's a few variables. Number one, we're natural problem solvers because we learn how to solve problems with the human body, right? We're listening for things in a subjective exam. We are going through a very set process of an objective exam to both rule in and rule out things that people are showing up for. We're having to remember a lot of data and keep up with current trends when it comes to research. And on top of that, we have to be able to be high-level communicators to make connections with people of varying different backgrounds and demographics and build trust with them so that they will buy into the plan of care that we have, which typically involves habitual lifestyle changes and exercises that are weird and uncomfortable. That is a lot to be able to do with somebody, in, let's call it, an hour of time with them. So you take that same person, you put them into a non-clinical world, and that skill set is incredibly valuable in many different elements of any sort of larger company. So I think if you're looking at what's happening with your degree, number one, you're paying for the information, the check the box, the piece of paper that allows you to have a license and practice in a state of your choice. And that might be what you do. And the career field, in my opinion, is rewarding enough personally that it would be worth it for me to take on that additional debt to be able to get the degree. But I think that if you're just going to be a staff clinician, the challenge is I don't know if it's financially worth it. You'd have to really want to be a clinician and really, really want to serve people, at that level, because I honestly believe a clinical PT job, if the environment is right, when it's lower volume and you're working with people that you really enjoy working with, I don't know many careers that are as satisfying personally and also just like engaging and have an element where you can do this for a long time. Also, side effect. PTs are inherently naturally going to be healthier than a lot of other professions. I can tell you, me working from home now, I'm not seeing patients anymore right now. I might go back to it. I do miss it, but I have to train harder. I have to intentionally move more. Whereas if I'm doing, let's call it a cumulative amount of 2 hours of manual therapy a day and demonstrating a bunch of exercises, guys, we have weirdly strong grip strength and trunk strength from being, doing odd isometrics all day long. And that's a great byproduct in terms of functionality in life outside of work. A lot of people don't have that. And you have that built in. So I think that's an interesting side effect that we have within the profession. So if we're looking at if you should do this, if you should go back, if you're a student maybe that's looking at going to PT school, I can't think of a better profession that I've been exposed to in terms of personal satisfaction. It is awesome. It's my favorite job I've ever had by far. The compensation is not what it should be for I think what our skill set is, but that's based on the economy, and there's a lot of things that have to change with that. The one thing you can do though is if you decide that you want to go that route, you take on this additional student debt, you are building a skill set that is inherently very valuable to the broader economy, to other businesses, but also a skill set that can, with a few tweaks, can be transitioned to do your own practice, build your own cash practice in particular, or maybe it's a digital practice that's online, or any number of things you can use your skill set for. But you're essentially earning that credibility of having that degree, having stuck through school and training and being able to go through these difficult assessments to get that credentialing that then allows you to have so much credibility with all of these other people. And that's very valuable. It just depends on how you use it. So if it was me, if I was going through school and I was just going to be a staff PT, I think the exchange is not there from a monetary standpoint, but from a personal satisfaction and a quality of life standpoint, and you actually being able to directly help people and get paid to do that, it's like a pretty amazing transition and a pretty amazing trade-off that you get to exchange time and money for, to be able to have the right to do that, and the honor, honestly, to be able to work with people as they work through their musculoskeletal problems and a number of other things we get a chance to help them with. But if you can take that same skill set that you're developing and you can look at it as an investment in yourself, an investment in developing your skill sets in many ways, and you can learn how to market and sell, you can double what you're making in a cash practice. If you can learn how to market and sell, hire, systemize, and be a better leader, you can quadruple what you're making, even in something like a cash practice. And if that's not intriguing to you and you get burned out in the profession, you can always go and get a job in corporate America doing any number of things, whether it be sales or a manager of whatever team that they have, customer success, all kinds of things where you can increase what you're making. Your salary will be quite a bit higher in those bigger corporations, and you have a unique feather in your cap that allows you to go and do that. So if it's up to me, 100% I go back to school. I think it just depends on what you do with it afterward and if it's worth it to you. But I wouldn't change it at all, and I highly recommend if you're interested in PT, you go for it. It's a super rewarding career. It's an amazing opportunity to be a part of like one of the best professions in the world, and you're investing in yourself, and you can grow that into any number of things outside of it. So guys, hope you enjoy this one. As always, if you're interested in getting some help, taking your degree and using it slightly different and doing your own thing as far as business is concerned, that's our wheelhouse we help people with. Head to physicaltherapybiz.com, go check us out and see if we can help you there. Guys, I'll see you next week.